Good evening and welcome to Coach Today by Live Law. I am Urvashi Chauhan, and in this video we cover the top legal developments from across India. From the Supreme Court's stern action on illegal constructions in Chandni Chowk and delay in NIA trials to Justice Yashwant Verma's challenge in the cash at home row. We also bring updates on Lalu Yadav's trial, Nimisha Priya's case and key rulings on free speech and marital cruelty. Watch till the end and please do subscribe and hit that bell icon. Please support us so that we can continue to bring you news that is quick, crisp and unbiased. In a first of its kind development, sitting Allahabad High Court Judge Justice Yashwant Verma has approached the Supreme Court challenging the in-house inquiry report that indicated him in the cash at residence controversy. The controversy, as you are aware, stems from a firefighting operation at his then official residence in Delhi on 14th March this year, during which large amounts of cash were allegedly discovered in an outhouse. Following public uproar, an in-house inquiry committee of 3 High Court judges was formed by the then Chief Justice of India. The committee examined 55 witnesses, including Justice Verma and his daughter, and relied on photos and videos taken by the fire brigade. It concluded that the judge and his family had control over the premises and that his denial and plea of conspiracy were not sufficient explanations. After Justice Verma refused to resign, the committee's report was forwarded to the highest constitutional authorities for action. Now, the writ petition filed by Justice Verma names the Union of India and the Supreme Court as respondents. Justice Verma has also questioned recommendation made by the then Chief Justice of India, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, to the President and Prime Minister seeking initiation of impeachment proceedings against him. Well, this move comes just days ahead of the monsoon session of the Parliament, where impeachment motion is likely to be introduced. Justice Verma has alleged that the in-house committee did not give him a fair opportunity to present his case. He claims the process was predetermined and that the committee drew adverse inferences against him without any concrete evidence by effectively reversing the burden of proof. Now, by filing a writ petition, Justice Verma has opened an unusual legal front, where a sitting judge is directly challenging the top court's internal inquiry mechanism in the Supreme Court itself. In a crucial hearing before the Karnataka High Court, the central government today argued that reasonable restrictions under Article 19(2) of the Constitution must evolve alongside the ever-expanding right to freedom of speech under Article 19(1)(a), especially in today's digital and technologically complex era. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, appearing for the centre, made the submissions in a petition filed by X Corp, formerly known as Twitter, challenging the government's takedown orders issued under Section 79, subsection 3, Clause B of the IT Act. Now, this provision says that if social media intermediaries or online platforms are notified by the government to remove something unlawful from their site, and they don't do it without delay, then they can be held responsible for that content. Normally, these platforms are not blamed for what users post. But if they ignore government orders, they lose that protection, or what they call safe harbor. Coming back to today's hearing, X Corp argued that these takedown orders have a chilling effect on users' freedom of expression. But the Solicitor General countered this argument, saying that chilling effect doctrine cannot be an absolute defense to restrict reasonable regulation, especially when content may be harmful or unlawful. He added that X cannot invoke free speech claims on behalf of its users and compared its role to that of a notice board. If it simply hosts the content, he asked, how is its own free speech being violated? Justice M. Nag Prasanna is hearing this case. During the arguments, S.G. Mehta demonstrated how intermediaries can be misused. He showed the court a fake X account in the name of a Supreme Court of Karnataka. He warned that platforms like X are vulnerable to deepfakes and fake identities, which are serious threats to privacy and public trust. The SG further said that Constitution allows for reasonable restrictions, not just static ones. He argued that if the scope of free speech evolves with time, so must restrictions, so as to keep pace with changing threats like misinformation and AI-generated content. To illustrate his point, he said that if a fake video of a judge saying anti-national things were circulated, it might not fall under Section 69A, which has a detailed blocking process, but it would still be harmful. That, he said, is where Section 79 comes in. He He further stated that safe harbor protections for platforms are not absolute. If intermediaries fail to act even after being informed about illegal content, they lose their immunity. This aligns with international practices where exceptions to safe harbor are becoming stricter. X Corp has also challenged Rule 31D of the IT Rules 2021, which asks intermediaries to avoid hosting content that violates public order, decency, or sovereignty. The SG today clarified that this is only a caution and not a penal rule, and questioned why merely informing platforms about legal boundaries should be considered unconstitutional. The center also defended its new Sahyog portal, created to streamline communication between government agencies and platforms for prompt content moderation. X questioned the powers of various officers using the portal, including a case where a railway engineer sent a takedown request. But the SG clarified that authorized officers from different departments must be empowered to act swiftly, including in areas like consumer safety. Finally, SG Mehta questioned whether X, a foreign company, can claim Article 19(1)(a) rights under Indian law. Well, this case raises key questions on platform responsibility, free speech, state regulation, and role of intermediaries in India's digital landscape. The matter will be next heard on 25th July. Make sure to stay tuned. Moving ahead, the Apex Court has strongly condemned rampant illegal and unauthorized construction in Delhi's Chandni Chowk area and has ordered strict action. A bench led by Justices Suryakant and Joy Malia Bagchi directed the Delhi police to immediately arrest anyone found laying even a single unauthorized brick in the area. The court remarked that this illegal construction is being carried out in collusion with municipal officials and called the entire situation a fraud. The court ordered sealing of all properties where illegal construction is going on. It has directed the Commissioner of Police to ensure regular patrolling and strict implementation of demolition notices issued by the MCD wherever there is no stay by the court. The local Deputy Commissioner of Police has been asked to submit a compliance report. During the hearing, the bench highlighted the case of an elderly woman living on the ground floor of a property where a builder has illegally constructed a commercial space above her residence. The woman had reportedly been pleading with authorities since 2022, but no action was taken until the Supreme Court intervened. The court expressed strong displeasure and demanded details of the builder for penal action. The additional Solicitor General was asked to ensure arrests of defaulters, with the court saying that it will see who grants them bail, underlining its seriousness about the enforcement. This matter has been ongoing, with the court earlier considering a CBI probe into the role of Municipal Corporation of Delhi. It has also stayed conversion of residential properties into commercial spaces in Chandni Chowk and has warned the MCD officials of contempt proceedings if orders were not followed. At today's hearing, the court noted that MCD had finally started taking some action but questioned its inaction in earlier cases, particularly where houses were secretly combined for illegal use. It has now sought a response from the corporation and ordered that no commercial activity should be allowed in those properties. Sealing should be done if required. The court also directed MCD to file inspection reports and asked the petitioner to bring further instances of unauthorized construction through affidavits. At the heart of this case are two Delhi High Court orders, including one where the High Court allowed repairs based on MCD's statement that illegal construction had been removed. However, the Supreme Court appears unconvinced and is pushing for strict accountability. In cases involving serious offences like terrorism and organized crime, it is important to ensure that the accused are not released on bail too easily. But at the same time, the Constitution guarantees every person the right to a speedy trial. When trials are delayed for years and under trials are kept in jail without proceedings even starting, it becomes a violation of their fundamental rights. On the same lines, the Supreme Court today issued a strong warning to the union government that if special courts with proper infrastructure for fast trials under the NIA Act are not established soon, courts will be forced to release under-trial prisoners on bail. A bench of Justices Suryakant and Joy Malia Bagchi was hearing a case involving an under-trial booked under the NIA Act. At a previous hearing, the court had underlined the need for dedicated courts with full infrastructure for handling trials under special laws like Unlawful Activities Prevention Act and Maharashtra Control of Organized Crime Act. It had noted the slow pace of such trials because existing judges were overburdened with other criminal and civil matters. As a result, under trials were languishing in jail for years, often without the trial even starting. The bench reminded the government that when an under trial is kept in jail for years and the trial has not even started, denying bail becomes a direct violation of Article 21, that is the right to life and personal liberty. In response to government's argument that it had already designated existing courts as special courts under Section 11 of NIA Act, the court rejected this submission. It said that simply designated an existing court as a special court is not enough. This would affect hundreds of other pending cases, including those involving under trials, senior citizens, and vulnerable sections of society. The court made it absolutely clear that if the authorities fail to establish proper exclusive special courts, then in this particular case, the petitioner's bail request will be considered on merits at the next date of hearing. The bench called this the last opportunity for the government to act. In the next update, the Apex Court has allowed a private organization working for the release of the Keralite nurse Nimisha Priya to file a representation before the central government seeking permission to travel to Yemen in order to negotiate with the family of the man she was convicted of murdering. Nimisha Priya is facing the death penalty in Yemen for the 2017 killing of her Yemeni business partner Talal Abdo Mahdi. She reportedly injected him with sedatives to retrieve her passport and escape alleged abuse, but the overdose proved fatal. In 2018, she was sentenced to death. Her appeals were rejected and the Yemeni president upheld the death sentence last year. Her execution was scheduled for 16th July but was postponed. The petitioner in this case, that is Save Nimisha Priya International Action Council, approached the Supreme Court seeking the center's support. The court was informed that private efforts, including the intervention of Islamic cleric Kanthapuram AP Abu Bakr Muslayar, led to a temporary stay of her execution. The petitioner now seeks to send 2 to 3 members along with a representative of the cleric to Yemen to initiate talks under Sharia law, which allows for blood money. Now, this is a form of compensation to be paid in exchange for a pardon. The family has reportedly offered 1 million, that is around 8.6 crore, as blood money to the victim's family. But a travel ban prohibits Indians from visiting Yemen without special permission. Senior advocate Raghunath Besant, appearing for the petitioner, told the court that such permission is essential in case for any progress in negotiations. The Attorney General R. Venkataramani remained non-committal, saying that while the government is making private efforts, no formal commitment can be made at this stage. He cautioned against steps that might be counterproductive, but said that postponement of her execution was a positive sign. The bench of Justices Vikram Nath and Sandeep Mehta did not pass any direction to the centre, but permitted the organisation to formally approach the government with their request. The matter has now been posted for hearing on 14th August. The case has drawn widespread attention with growing calls for diplomatic intervention to save Nimisha Priya from the gallows. Her supporters continue to explore all legal and humanitarian options to secure a pardon from the victim's family. In the next update, the top court refused to stay the ongoing trial in the CBI's Land for Jobs case against former Bihar Chief Minister and RJD leader Lalu Prasad Yadav. A bench of Justices M.M. Saundaresh and N. Koteshwar Singh was hearing Yadav's plea challenging Delhi High Court's refusal to halt the trial proceedings. But the bench noted that the appeal was only against one interim order and said that they would not interfere at this stage. The top court has denied to stay and dismissed his appeal. The court did offer some relief, saying that Yadav need not appear personally for the trial and asked the Delhi High Court to expedite the hearing on his petition challenging the cognizance taken by the trial court. Senior advocate Kapil Sibal, appearing for Yadav, had argued that CBI began investigating without obtaining prior sanction under Section 17A of Prevention of Corruption Act, which is mandatory for investigating decisions taken by public servants in the course of official duties. But the CBI countered, saying that Section 17A does not apply because the alleged offences occurred before 2018 amendment, which introduced this requirement. But the Supreme Court refused to go into these legal arguments at this stage, saying that they can be raised before the trial court. For those of you who do not know the background of this matter, let me tell you, the CBI alleges that between 2004 and 2009, when Lalu Prasad Yadav was the railway minister, several individuals were appointed to Group D posts in exchange for transferring land to his family members or to a company later acquired by them. A charge sheet was filed in October 2022 against 16 people, including Lalu Yadav, his wife Rabdi Devi, and daughter Misha Bharti. The Delhi High Court had already declined to stay the trial, stating that there were no compelling reasons to interrupt proceedings at this stage. It said that all legal issues, including the question of sanction, could be raised during arguments on charge. Well, now with the Supreme Court refusing to intervene, the trial will continue at Rouse Avenue courts. The Bombay High Court has held that a wife's conduct, such as refusing to have physical relations with her husband, accusing him of having an extramarital affair, insulting him in front of his friends, mistreating his employees, and showing apathy towards his specially abled sister amounts to mental cruelty. The court was hearing an appeal filed by the wife against a 2019 family court order that had granted divorce to the husband. The couple had married in December 2013 but separated within a year. While they initially filed for divorce by mutual consent in 2015, the wife later withdrew her consent and lodged a police complaint against the husband and his family. The husband alleged that the wife consistently humiliated him, interfered with his work life, and refused intimacy for months. Despite this, he tried to save the marriage by moving to a separate rented flat and inviting her to live with him. But she never turned up. The High Court noted that the husband's attempts to reconcile were genuine and his version of events remained unchallenged. The judges observed that despite several rounds of mediation over the years, including marathon sessions in chambers, the relationship had broken down beyond repair. The court remarked that for more than a decade, the parties had been living separately and the marriage no longer survived in any meaningful sense. So with this, the High Court upheld the divorce granted by the family court and dismissed the wife's appeal. And lastly, in a significant judgment for small businesses, the Supreme Court has clarified how time-barred payment claims by MSME suppliers can be recovered under the MSMED Act. The court has ruled that while suppliers can seek recovery of old dues through conciliation proceedings before MSME facilitation councils, they cannot enforce those claims through arbitration if they are beyond the limitation period. This means the Limitation Act does not apply to conciliation since it's a voluntary out-of-court process, but it does apply to arbitration, which is a formal adjudicatory process. The bench of Justices P.S. Narasimha and Joy Malia Bagchi held that even time-barred dues can be settled amicably through conciliation. But once the dispute goes to arbitration, the standard time limits under the law will apply. The case arose from a payment dispute between Sonali Power, a transformer manufacturer, and the Maharashtra State Electricity Board. After facing long delays and unpaid dues of 2.7 crore, the company approached the Facilitation Council in 2018. But the council rejected the claim, citing limitation. When the High Court upheld this rejection, the company approached the Supreme Court. While the top court has now partly allowed the appeal, agreeing that arbitration would be barred by limitation, but restoring the right to pursue conciliation even for old claims. The court emphasized that right to payment does not vanish with time, and MSMEs can still resolve such disputes through conciliation under Section 18, subsection 2 of the MSMED Act. This ruling protects MSME suppliers from being shut out of justice solely due to procedural delays and affirms the importance of alternative dispute resolution in commercial disputes.